While the Phillies are back to their losing ways, dropping 8 of the past 10 series, there's one standout arm in the bullpen that might be worth paying attention to. We're here to break down why Max Lazar could end up being a key piece for this Phillies team both in the short and the long term, as well as a couple names that you guys should know for the pipeline down the stretch. Now, before we dive fully into it, what this means for this Phillies team, we do want to remind you guys to make sure you are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 92.7% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel just yet. We want to get this Phillies Digest family growing. Hopefully, still a lot of important baseball still to be played, even though it has not looked like it lately. So I want each and every one of you along for the ride here. So, Luke, I want to talk specifically about Max Lazar as well as some other prospects that we're hearing some really great news about. I want to start off by just kind of mentioning this was a guy that you were really excited for when they did make the call up. He's pitched in 2 low leverage situations to this point, and it is clear there's a little bit of belief. We got some praise from Rob Thomson. We got that him sticking with the organization when they did have an opportunity to send him down. So, what are you seeing from Lazar in the first 2 appearances on the mound, and kind of your outlook for the guy?
Yeah, I just think it's something right now that the bullpen needed. I think they sort of needed just like a bit of a fresh arm, guy that's kind of been one pitching really well because it's been a struggle of a few weeks for the bullpen and just the entire pitching staff. I think a lot of guys are sort of getting to the point in the season where they get a little burned out. That's sort of late into August thing. It's been a lot of innings for Jeff Hoffman, a lot of innings for Ryan Kerkering, a lot of innings for Matt Strom, a lot of innings for all those guys. So I think it's really kind of getting a bit of a burnout. But it's been nice to see this from Max Lazar. Obviously, it's only been in 2 1/3, but he's allowed 0 hits, 0 earned runs, with 3 strikeouts. Picking up really where he left off in Double A and Triple A.
Yeah.
He had a 2.40 in Triple A, a 0 in Double A, and across both minor leagues this season, he's had a 1.79 in 40 innings. He looked really solid down in Triple A, and he sort of has just like a bit of a just like a twang to him.
Yeah.
I think he's sort of got some sort of vibes out there where he just looks comfortable.
Yeah.
He looks very comfortable for a guy that really made his major league debut just a few days ago. So is he going to be some big crazy high leverage guy? No, but every team needs a mop up guy and a guy that can go in low leverage situations. And obviously, as we saw this morning from the option, it's not Junior Marte anymore for at least the time being. So maybe Lazar has something to him. I was intrigued from the start, and I think we're really off on the right track so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it, that there is a twang to him. There is a little bit of swagger to him that I really like, that jumped out to me, that there's a confidence about this dude. And by the way, he had 13 saves in the minors, which I did not realize as well. And I get the majors is a different beast there, but it is still worth noting that he was the guy for different stretches of his path to the pros here. We also got this quote from Rob Thomson. This was asked after the initial debut, and he said, quote, "It was great. Was not afraid. Didn't have the shakes at all. Through strikes. I think the fastball was 94. The breaking stuff was pretty good. I liked what I saw." So pretty high praise from a guy who doesn't hand it out that easily and is pretty nonchalant in the way that he goes about it. So I'm kind of intrigued. And I will just note, I know this is not the exact same situation or quite the pedigree of Orion Kerkering, what we saw last year, but we saw how quickly this Phillies team really accelerated through him the process of getting him into throwing some high leverage innings. So while I think it was a little fast with Kerkering, and that is not a pathway that I would suggest throwing Max Lazar on, it just does go to speak that if you have the stuff, this Phillies team will throw you. And to take a look at the full bullpen picture overall, we know what we got with Carlos Estevez at the top. Jeff Hoffman, who you mentioned, has been lights out, one of the best relief pitchers in baseball this year, but he does look like he's showing a little bit of signs of fatigue. Matt Strom also been hit around more than we've seen. Then looking beyond that Jose Alvarado has been all over the place. Orion Kerkering has had his ups and downs as well. They need a guy that can kind of solidify this ship a little bit. Tanner Banks overall been pretty good, but I do think that and another guy to mention real quick, Spencer Turnbull, which I know you're even less optimistic that he could be stepping on the field. So the bottom line is I think there's an opportunity for him if this stuff is legitimate.
Yeah, I think they sort of did the Max Lazar thing in a time that they needed it.
Yeah.
If you look at these bullpen ERAs after the All-Star break, they're not good. Orion Kerkering 7 flat.
Yikes.
Jose Alvarado 7.27. Matt Strom 5.19. Jeff Hoffman 6.23. Junior Marte 15.26. Gregory Soto's not even here. I don't even know why I said Gregory Soto. Carlos Estevez has really been the only one. Has not allowed an earned run yet in his Phillies tenure, which is he's kind of been the driving force since at least the All-Star break. It's other than that, it's been a mess. Even with the rotation, Christopher Sanchez 6.11, Aaron Nola 4.55, Tyler Phillips 4.98. Just been a bad few weeks for pitching. Hopefully Max Lazar can give something. Right, once again, he's not going to be your closer. He's not going to be taking over Jeff Hoffman's role, taking over Matt Strom's role. But maybe it's nice for these guys to have a guy come up and say, "Hey, this guy wants to be here. I want to go to work with this dude." You know what I mean? So hopefully that's something that can really give the Phillies a bit of a drive right now, because I mean they could use anything right now. I would try just about anything to sort of get this team back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we switch gears to mention some of the prospects a little bit, the bullpen's something that, like, this started as something I was supremely confident in for most of the season, and I think an advantage over what we've seen in past runs for this Phillies team. I don't want to say the wheels are falling off, but it certainly doesn't have the same bite that it once did with this bullpen. Do you think this is just fatigue, a little bit of a midseason lull, or what is your level of concern for this bullpen moving forward?
Yeah, no, I mean, I still think it's a good bullpen. I still think Jeff Hoffman's a great pitcher. Matt Strom's a great pitcher. Carlos Estevez is a really, really great pitcher. As far as the other guys, I think getting this Tanner Banks move, he's honestly looked really solid since we've got him. He had that one bad outing the other day in Arizona, but I mean, other than that, he hasn't allowed an earned run before then. I'm still optimistic about Jose Alvarado. I think he'll find it again. I think once you get him back in October, not necessarily throwing like nearly every single day like these guys do, every other day sort of thing. I think having him out there in October will be fine, and I still think the same for Orion Kerkering. I'm not worried there. I think he's going through a bit of a dead arm period. I think it's been a lot of innings for over the last 18 months for a guy who got drafted 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily worried. I just think it's one of those times where you just sort of have to fight through it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and ultimately we will see. They certainly need to get back on track as soon as possible, and we will know if that is not the case come playoff time. Now, another area that I did want to discuss here, we did get this ranking from Baseball America that's ranked the top 20 prospects in the 2024 Florida Complex League, and the Phillies have 3 players ranked, including the number 1 overall in Starling Caba there. The other names mentioned are Eduardo Tate and Aaron Escobar there. Luke, talk to me about these guys. What do we need to know?
Yeah, as far as Starlin Caba, this kid's good. 18 years old, still so young. One really great fielder. Plays the field really well. Ton of games at short, few games or one game at second base. But every game. Really, it's short as far as 2024, 974 fielding percentage, which down there's a bit shaky. But I mean the overall glove is there. He's looked really well down in the complex league. And as far as the bats, 762 OPS. The kid's fast as anything. He just had 37 stolen bases this year. He's just one of those flashy guys that you really think could have a spot on this team eventually, right? I mean, we obviously know we have a bit of a log jam with. I mean, I think we all know. We know Trey Turner's going to be here for a while. He's not going anywhere. But if they could find a spot right with Trey, with Aiden Miller, there's some guys that we believe are going to be here for a while. So there is a bit of a logjam, but I think eventually, if this kid stays on track, I think they're going to have to find a spot for him. And as far as Eduardo Tate, I think you're looking at the future catcher of the Phillies.
Okay.
This kid's a monster. He's hitting 321, 377 with a 500 slugging percentage, 6 home runs, 49 RBIs, 13 doubles. The dude freaking rakes. He just absolutely rakes. He's been hitting all year long in Clearwater so far, 761 OPS, 3 homers, 9 RBIs in 41 at bats. I think this guy can play for us for a while here.
Wow.
It's going to take time. He's 17 years old.
Wow.
That's the wildest part. Like, it's going to be a few years, but I'll tell you what, this kid's on track. And if he stays on that, I think this kid can be a star eventually for this team.
Wow. All right. I love to hear that optimism there. And my last question on this is kind of what is the pathway from the Florida Complex League into where you eventually make your way to the majors, and what is the sort of timeline that each of these guys are on?
Yeah, right. If you're talking from really the lowest of the low leagues right now to the pros, that's 4 years, like 3 4 years. But if you're good enough, we saw it last year with Orion Kerkering. You can fly all the way up
Yeah.
in the matter of 6 months. Obviously, I'm not comparing Eduardo to Mike Trout. Mike Trout didn't play minor league games. Mike Trout got drafted, went right to the pros.
Bryce Harper,
So
too,
like
right?
it really depends on how good you are. And if Tate goes up to high A and he starts raking, and he goes up to double A and he starts raking, and he goes up to triple A and keeps doing it. You never know. You could see him in the next few years, depending on what the future is with JT Realmuto. Because I think that, as it should be right now, is a bit unknown. So we'll see. I'm not counting this kid out, but I'm also not saying he's going to be here next year.
Okay. All right. Well, always good to have as much talent as you can within the organization. So a couple names to keep an eye on there. And once again, we do want to hear from you guys on Max Lazar. So let me know if you guys are buying in. And one more time, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Just 7.3% of you guys tuning in the videos subscribing to the channel just yet. So got to get those numbers up. We got to get all geared up for the home stretch and want as many of you a part of it as possible. So make sure you're hitting that button, dropping a like on this video, dropping your comments below. And me and Luke will be talking to you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.